This episode features highlights with John S. Barry on the Treehouse Talks podcast with Eric Isham.
All right, everybody, I am here with none other than John Barry, Esquire, here in Treehouse Talks.
Thanks so much for having me, Eric. Beautiful property.
Okay, thank you very much. So I was doing my research prior to having you on here, and I said, you know what? I'm just curious. Who are the most famous people coming out of Nebraska? And so Warren Buffett, Marlon Brando, Johnny Cash, Crazy Horse, and John Barry. You're in the top 5 if you Google search most famous people from Nebraska. And I'm only joking. So anybody that has been through the state, how many billboards does John Barry have up across the state?
I think maybe 35.
35 billboards.
Maybe a few in Iowa across the river.
Okay. So we're going to get to all that stuff, but I thought that was a fun way to start. So let's talk a little bit about how you got started. We're going to go all the way back to a very young John Barry and what drove you to wanting to, we'll start with the military. What made you want to go and serve?
Part of it was I didn't want to be a lawyer right away, right? I knew that was something I wanted to do, take over the family business, but I wanted to have some fun and some adventure. And so my last 2 years of high school, I went to New Mexico Military Institute in Roswell, New Mexico.
Okay.
Thought that maybe I wanted to go to an academy, but 2 years of a military school cured me of that. And so I ended up going to the College of William and Mary and was playing football, got injured. And I played with Mike Tomlin, former Steelers head coach, and Sean McDermott, former Bills head coach. And so great leaders, great guys. I was not big enough or fast enough to play at Nebraska, but my friends that went to Nebraska.
Did Mike Tomlin play with his glasses on?
He was like a skinny, like 6'2", 165 wide receiver. He doesn't look like the way he looks now.
Okay.
But
none of us do.
Yeah, none of us do. Yeah, that's fair. But my friends that stayed at Nebraska, they have the national championship rings from 94, 95, 97. So, but you know what? I got a great education and, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, William & Mary's an amazing school.
Yeah, sure.
And so I ended up getting injured and decided I did not want to go straight to law school. I wanted to have some fun. I wanted to become an Airborne Ranger. And so became an infantry officer, got to go through Airborne school, Ranger school, and then was
Where did you get your commission at?
William & Mary.
Oh, so you went through OCS, or I mean through
ROTC.
ROTC there. Okay.
Yeah, they had this great program. Like I didn't do it my first 2 years, but your second year, like your junior year, you go to this camp in Fort Knox, and you could earn a scholarship. So that's what I did. So I did ROTC my last 2 years. Because I went to a military high school, all the drill and ceremony crap was easy, right? It was, and I was in great shape. PT was kind of a joke. So I was like, yeah, I can do this.
Okay. So you got your commission coming out of college, and then did you go straight in?
I did. Went right. I think, I don't remember whether something got screwed with my DD-214 or it's just like I went in the reserves, but I didn't. I went straight in. You got to understand, back then in the 90s, there was all the drawback from the military, right? So
that's right.
There were a lot of people were not getting the opportunity to go active duty. So I got commissioned in May, went into my first class was in, my first day of active duty was July 6th, 1997.
Okay. Hey guys, quick interruption on the show, but if you are enjoying this content, please make sure you are subscribed to Treehouse Talks TN. Like and comment down below, and with that, I'm going to let you get right back to it. Thanks. Wow, that's interesting. So your first day of active duty was, let's call it 1 month before mine.
Oh, great.
That's wild. So anyways, and you went to Bosnia, right? That was your first deployment?
Yep, 99.
Okay, so you went to Bosnia. So you've been in for a few years by the time you had your bearings. And then how long were you in Bosnia?
About 6 months. And then I got back and I'm like, okay, there's no war. Because we started bombing Kosovo at that point. And so we thought it was all going to blow up. We were mostly patrolling in Humvees. Now we're going to move to the Bradleys. We're getting all excited. And then nothing happened. So I got back that summer and I said, well, you know what? I might as well go to law school. Okay. So that's what happened. I went to law school, but they had this great program where you can, your last year of active duty, if you stay in the Guard or Reserves, that last year's waived. And I could get tuition assistance for law school. So it seemed like a great
So
idea.
you used your GI Bill for law school?
Well, I didn't use my GI Bill.
You had it was a separate program?
That was a separate program.
Okay.
But it was just tuition assistance. So it was through the National Guard. It was great. And then I was a company commander, and then I became a lawyer. And being a new lawyer is tough, especially when my dad was ready to hand over the keys. Hey, take over the firm. He was ready to retire. It was tough. And I went to my battalion commander and said, hey, sir, here's the deal. I'm working 70, 80 hours a week. I'm company commander in the Guard. I'm a new lawyer. I'm partially running the firm now, even though I don't know what I'm doing yet. And I said, I can't do it all. He said, you don't have to. Your company is getting deployed. You're going to be a company commander in Iraq.
I was like, did he really care about you bitching to him about all your stuff? Hey, don't worry about it.
I got a solution. No problem. Yeah.
Okay, so you deployed to Iraq. You're a company commander. And was this with an infantry unit?
So that was the other surprise that they gave me. We were in an infantry brigade. They then reclassed to logistics. So not only were we going to deploy, but we were going to reclass. We're not going over as an infantry brigade. We were going over as a, I don't remember the term, ASG, Area Support Group.
Okay.
So I became the HHC and HHC commander of the Area Support Group.
Did you get any kind of additional training on logistics before deploying, or were they?
I did. I had to. They said you have to figure out logistical branch. Well, because I went to College of William and Mary and Fort Eustis was right there, I said I'll go to Eustis because I love that area.
Yeah,
so
it's beautiful.
Went there, did the 2-week course, became qualified as a transportation officer, and then later a multi-area function logistic. I don't remember. Multi-MFA something, but it was multifunctional logistician or something. And then,
Got it. Easy for you to say. All right. So you spent how long in Iraq?
About a year.
About a year. Okay. So you come back, and then you're like, okay, I'm ready to be a full-time attorney now. Did you go into a guard role at that point?
Yeah, no. So I went back to being a lawyer.
Okay.
And, one of the mistakes we made was we really downsized when I left the firm. And so I came back to a very small organization.
Well, give us a head count on that. What's small?
I mean, less than 10. And
wow. So it's way smaller.
Less than 10 people. Revenue was, I think, 500,000-600,000.
Okay. So this is really just a mom and pop type, small, local.
Right.
Attorney firm, I guess. Okay. Because very far from where you're at today, which we'll get to. But okay. So you get back, you got 10 folks there with your dad running the shop. And was it the focus the same as it is now? Let's talk a little bit about that.
It was very similar. We were still doing veterans disability appeals, and we were trying a lot of cases, but it was mostly criminal cases. We had a civil section and a criminal section and then a VA disability section. And back then, most of the VA work was pro bono unless it was at the federal court system. So we didn't have a lot of cases. Lawyers could not get paid at the administrative agency level back then. So And now we get paid based on a contingency basis. We don't get paid if we win, but back then we couldn't even charge. So it kind of all developed from my father's practice. My father was a famous attorney, had a case called the Green Beret Affair, defended the commander of the 5th Special Forces in Vietnam, and just,
And your dad was a Green Beret in
No, he was a lawyer.
He was a lawyer.
He was an infantry guy who went JAG.
Okay.
So that's, so anyway, so he, when he started getting these big cases, he became very popular in the veteran community, and most veterans back then, the Vietnam veterans, we treated them so shamefully. They were being turned away by the VA. So my dad would fight for them, and he would do most of it pro bono. And so then the laws changed around 2007, 2008 that allowed us to get paid for representing veterans at the agency level. We do it on a contingency basis. So once again, most veterans who are struggling with homeless or dealing with addiction or unemployment, whatever it is, they could not afford an attorney. So my dad, like I said, did it pro bono, and then the laws changed, allowed us to get paid. So that became part of a business model, but we were still trial lawyers. We still had to get in the courtroom and try the cases. Mm-hmm. Right? And a lot of VA disability law is administrative. So it's a little bit different, and it's a different type of cat, right? You got to get somebody who loves to research, write, not necessarily get in the courtroom every day.
Yeah, it's a specific person that you're looking for that wants to do just that. For
yes.
Sure. Okay.
Probably not a podcast host.
Yeah, probably not. So, okay. So you get back, firm has shrunken down a little bit. You land, you're looking around, catching the lay of the land. And then where's your head at? What's your entrepreneurial brain picking up? You're like, hey dad, I think we should do this. Walk me through kind of those conversations where your head was at back then.
Yeah. I mean, going back, I'd been a paper boy since I was 10. So I was always used to, my parents, I think I never had rules. I never had curfews.
I'm learning a lot now. This
yeah.
is explaining a lot.
There are actions and there are consequences, right? So, I remember I wanted this Schwinn Predator bike when I was 10, and my parents said, well, buy it. I'm like, well, what can I do? They're like, well, you could detassel corn, work on a farm, or you could deliver papers. So I'm like, well, deliver papers. This is back when paper boys were being abducted and killed and stuff. My parents were like, yeah, you do the morning ride, you'll be fine.
Okay.
So I did the paper, but I wanted to buy that Schwinn Predator. So I love that dirt bike. So I got the paper out, bought the bike, and that was kind of from there. I was always like, hey, you can have whatever you want. You just have to work for it.
Sure.
And so going back to the law, I was always entrepreneurial, but as a young lawyer, I just wanted to be a great lawyer. I didn't care about, and I didn't know anything about running a law firm. And to be fair, so much has changed with technology. I mean, back then there were disputes about whether using email was ethical, and then whether cloud computing was secure enough, whether it was ethical. I mean, it's crazy now to think about it, but lawyers were always so slow to adapt. And so, I didn't think a law firm could be entrepreneurial back then.
Okay.
And I loved getting in court. I loved trying the cases, but the business side was a mess. We weren't running it like a business. We were running it like a practice. And unfortunately, that's what we learned in law school. It's this almost this elitist mindset, right? That you are such a professional that the business should just come to you. You shouldn't have to worry about marketing. You shouldn't have to worry about all these business things because you're a great lawyer. It'll all happen for you. And that may be true in a large firm where they have a huge administrative staff built out, but we didn't have that. And so you're just like the businessman doing everything, right? You're the businessman, you're the lawyer, you're the bookkeeper, right?
So did you guys did you sit down with the team and say, okay, we're going to change this up, right? We're going to turn this into a business. At what point in time did you guys say that and start working toward that?
Yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't until about 10 years later.
Okay. So you were just status quo. You're like, I'm an attorney. I'm going to go practice law. And the business is going to you didn't have a business manager there. You didn't have an office manager.
We had an office manager.
Okay,
but,
you did. But
still
it wasn't.
This is not what we have today.
Right.
But I wanted to be a great lawyer. So it's all I cared about.
Okay.
All I cared about were the cases. I didn't even care if I got paid. And I wasn't making, most of the time I wasn't making money, but
Were you winning cases though?
I was winning cases. Yeah, it was great.
Okay.
I loved winning and that was the thing. You're winning the cases. You're helping people. But yeah, doing criminal cases, doing some civil cases, just doing everything, which of course, now lawyers specialize. But back then, hey, that's what you did. And so small firm, and we call it threshold practice. Anything that crossed the threshold of the door, we would take, right? And that's how we ate.
Okay.
So
somebody hit my car, you're working the case?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that was a lot of cases we probably shouldn't have taken that we took.
Right.
And we learned some important lessons from that. But it wasn't until I had reached this point where I was very confident in my ability, had won a lot of jury trials, had got amazing results for a lot of clients. And I was in the National Guard, and I was the battalion commander of the officer and warrant officer candidate school. And I was so happy to have that job. I thought that was like the best job I had since I was a second lieutenant, you know, where it's just like,
very cool.
I'm here. I get to run my own show. Cause as you know, as you move up the ranks, the less authority you have, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
but as I was we had our own operation. I loved having a full-time staff, even though I was, 1 weekend a month. I had a full-time staff running everything. And that really taught me a lot. I'm like, wait a minute, I can do this in the business. We could have remote team members. I don't need to be in the office every day. I don't need to be the first in, last out. Like if I hire great people, I can start to build this. So this was back in about 2016. I realized I was going to retire the next year. So I really started to get serious about growing the firm.
Okay.
And that's when the first domino fell. I hired a guy to be my general counsel. He was from the oldest firm in the state of Nebraska, former Marine, infantry guy who went JAG, well respected. He was kind of known as a fixer. And I hired him as our general counsel. So his job was to solve all of the firm's problems. I didn't have to solve those anymore.
Okay.
Then I got him, and then I got another great litigator. And then I got a guy who was a former G6 for the Nebraska National Guard to run our IT. And I just started building from there.
So I want to go back. You said something that kind of struck a chord for me. You said, I realized I didn't have to be the first in, last out. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, we all feel that way because, when you start a business, you're the only person there. So you're obviously going to be the first in and the last out. But I think a lot of us carry that with us for a long time, right? It comes from, being in the military, right? You want to show by example. You want to lead by example. If you're asking the Joes to do something, you want to show them that you're going to do it too. But then you said something else that I was going to retire the next year. So how old were you when you were making this statement that you wanted to retire?
I'll retire from the Guard. From
the Guard.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had my 20 years in at that point.
So you did 20?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So you did your full 20. So you did some stuff on the active duty side. And most of it was Guard.
Right.
In Nebraska. Okay, cool. And so you're retiring from the Guard, and then you're going to be full-time in the business, and you made a decision, hey, we're going to grow this.
Right.
I'm going to run this like a business, not as an attorney practicing at the company.
Right. But there's a big gap between making that decision and then actually getting there.
Yeah, sure. There always is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there always is. So you hire this guy, he comes in, and then how quickly do you start seeing things happen there where he's solving the problems and you're not?
It wasn't quick. It was slow, but it was a necessary change. And so we started to build the practice around quality, right? It was all of a sudden it was, hey, some of the people that were here right now, they're not good enough anymore. And why? Because they're causing the problems. Right? And it was crazy. You were losing money on attorneys. This is a service business, right? Think about it, a service business, and we're losing money. And it's not like we have a factory and we got a bunch of widgets and we've got a bunch of inventory over here. No, it's like these are people and they're not producing.
Yeah, well, attorneys are expensive, so I could see that if you got them on payroll.
Yeah, and look, they all have families. They have, and then some were very loyal and some were friends. Some had worked with my dad for a long time. But they were not producing. And at the end of the day, it didn't help the clients. It didn't help the firm, right? And so you have to make those tough decisions. They've been around a long time, but if you're committed to growing a great organization, and I think growth can't just be in size, it has to be in ability and growing the quality of your services. And so I had to make those tough calls.
So let's talk a little bit about mission now. So we're 2016, 2017. You're charting a new course. You're starting to put your rating people to make sure that the right person, right seat. When did you start seeing results from that effort? And it's tough, right? That's a hard thing to go through. But when you get on the other side, how long did it take for you to start to see those results and you start to grow the organization?
Yeah, we moved at a glacial pace, right? Progress happens slow. It's like loading a spring. And so it just took so much effort. And then maybe 2020.
Okay.
Then boom, and then it launched. Thank you for joining us today on Veteran Led, where we seek to help veterans build an even bigger, better future after military service. Unfortunately, for some of our veterans, the roadblock to a better future is that they are not receiving all of the benefits that they earned. If you need help appealing a VA disability decision, contact Barry Law.